Welcome, dreamers and history lovers, to Twilight Tale. I'm your guide, your name, and tonight we journey back in time to a quiet Roman city, a place where the whispers of ancient streets, the distant murmur of everyday life, and the soothing sounds of the night cradle us into a deep, peaceful sleep. As the stars above flicker like ancient candles in the night sky, imagine yourself lying down in a small Roman home, the sounds of the city around you slowly fading into the embrace of sleep. Tonight we will drift through the stillness of a Roman night where history sleeps with us. Let the stories of the past guide you into your own restful slumber. As the first breath of twilight gathers over the horizon, a question is carried on the wind, one so ancient it can scarcely be heard. What does a city remember when its people sleep? It is not spoken aloud, nor even whispered. It is a murmur in the depths of stone, a query pressed into the silent grooves of columns long forgotten. The moon rises, casting its pale silk over the Roman Forum, draping the ruins in a soft embrace, as if to soothe them after centuries of watchful longing. The once thriving streets are now empty, save for the whispers of forgotten voices carried in the dust. The stones hold no echo, only the quiet hum of memory, and it is here, beneath the pale gaze of the moon, that we begin. The columns stand tall, though weary, like ancient sentinels who have long since forgotten their names. Time has chipped away at their marble skins, leaving behind traces of forgotten stories, yet they remain. This is a place built for the living, for the roar of the people, for the cries of victory and defeat, yet now it is a place that holds only silence. No longer do voices fill the air. Now only the quiet hum of the wind plays its mournful tune across the stones. The Forum, once a heart beating with the life of the city, now pulses with something deeper, something ancient, something eternal. On the marble steps of the basilica, warmth lingers. The heat of the day is cooling, the warmth of thousands of footsteps now fading like the last embers of a fire that once burned brightly. There is a subtle rhythm to the cooling stone, as if the city itself is exhaling, releasing centuries of memories with each breath. And yet, despite the emptiness, there is life here, a life that cannot be touched, nor seen, nor understood, but it is felt. It is felt in the stillness of the night. As we move deeper into the heart of the Forum, the rhythm of the city begins to unfold, layer by layer. We find ourselves walking beneath towering arches, their stone faces etched with the echoes of laws spoken and unspoken. These walls were once filled with the voices of senators, their words commanding the very fabric of the empire. And yet, these words, as powerful as they once were, have long since turned to dust, absorbed into the limestone and mortar, forgotten by all but the stones themselves. We pass beneath the arch of the Temple of Saturn, its once proud columns now bowed under the weight of time. The temple, once a place of power and wealth, has become a sanctuary of silence. What remains of its grandeur? What has been left behind for us to find? Perhaps it is not the stone we should be searching, but the quiet spaces between the stones, the hidden spaces where memory lingers in the shadows. The wind stirs the dust at our feet, and we find ourselves pausing in the shadows of a forgotten basilica. Here, in the stillness, we are invited to reflect. This is a place where prayers were once offered, where oaths were sworn, where men and women sought divine guidance. And yet, in the silence of the night, there is no voice. The prayers have long since been absorbed into the very fabric of the stone, carried on the breath of time. The shadows dance across the cold walls, and in the silence we feel the contradiction that runs through this place. These spaces, built for power, for influence, for the gathering of the masses, have become something else entirely. They are now sanctuaries of stillness, havens for the memories of a time that has passed. They are places where time pools like water in a forgotten vessel, where the past lingers just beneath the surface, waiting for those willing to listen. The rhythm of this place, of the city itself, becomes almost human. It is as though the stones breathe with us, patient and slow, exhaling the weight of centuries as we move deeper into their embrace. This is a city that has learned to rest, to pause, to wait, and we too must pause with it, listening to the silence, feeling the weight of a history that is no longer ours to carry. We walk now beneath the moon, our steps soft on the marble as the night presses in around us. The city is still, but it is not silent. No, the stones are never truly silent. There is a sound here, an almost imperceptible hum, as though the city's breath is being carried on the air just beyond reach. It is a sound we cannot hear, but we can feel. It is the breath of memory, the slow, patient exhale of a city that has seen all, that has whispered and shouted, that has risen and fallen, and now it rests. The ruins, once filled with life, now hold only the secrets of those who came before us. They are silent, but they are not empty. The stones are full of stories, full of memories, full of the weight of an empire long gone. Yet they ask nothing of us. They are content in their stillness, as the moon casts its soft light over them, draping them in a veil of pale silver. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the city's memory is not for us to grasp, to understand, to unravel. Perhaps the memory is simply for the city itself, a secret it keeps in the folds of its stones. The shadows stretch long, and the moon watches over us, its pale gaze casting everything in a soft, otherworldly light. As we stand there in the heart of the Forum, we feel the weight of the past, the breath of history, and yet we do not seek answers. We simply listen. The city does not speak in words, but in silence. Its memory is sealed, hidden in the cracks of the stones, beneath the dust, beneath the breath of the earth itself. And so, as we leave, the question remains, what does a city remember when its people sleep? Perhaps some questions are not meant to be answered. Perhaps some memories are not meant to be known. And yet, in the silence, in the stillness, in the soft glow of the moon, we feel the city's answer, not in words, but in the sacred rhythm of its breath, which will continue long after we have gone. And so we leave, not with the answers we sought, but with the quiet understanding that the stones, the ruins, and the city itself remember in ways we may never fully comprehend. And perhaps in this remembering, they will always be with us, just as we are always with them. The city sleeps, the stones breathe, and beneath the moon, silence reigns. The night falls gently, as a veil of quiet darkness wraps itself around the city, and in the heart of it, a flicker of light stirs. A single flame, trembling against the stone, dances like a captured star. Its warmth is soft, almost fragile, casting long, delicate shadows across the ancient street. This is where our journey begins, along a narrow path where oil lamps burn low, their faint glow whispering the secrets of a time long past. Who still walks these roads when the city sleeps? The question hangs in the air like a breath held in stillness. The streets, once vibrant with the hustle of life, now stretch empty and silent under the watchful gaze of the moon. Their stones, worn smooth by countless feet, seem to hum with the memory of lives lived in their shadows. The veins of this city, etched in stone, carry the echoes of those who once moved here, drifting between homes, between moments, between breaths. They are gone now, but their presence lingers, soft and invisible, like the flame in the lantern, casting fleeting light on forgotten corners. We move slowly down this ancient road, where every step is a quiet exploration into the past. The oil lamps burn like stars, dotting the path as though to guide us through the night. They are the keepers of secrets, these lamps, their flickering light revealing only fragments of the world that once was. We pass doorways sealed in shadow, their entrances now shut tight against the cool night air. Behind those doors, the lives that once filled the spaces are absent, their sounds, their laughter, their sighs, now reduced to whispers in the dust. A bakery, now cooling from the day's labor, exudes a stillness that speaks of a quiet end, a soft closing of a door never to be opened again. As we continue, the city reveals itself in its most delicate form. Shrines tucked into walls like hidden hearts, their simple stone altars marked with the faintest traces of offerings. These offerings, perhaps a few coins, perhaps a sprig of rosemary, perhaps a prayer whispered softly, are the last vestiges of lives that once sought something beyond the mundane. Household gods, once invoked with reverence, now stand still, their gazes unblinking, holding the weight of countless hopes and dreams. It is said that they listen, these silent sentinels, their presence not felt but known in the stillness. They are the guardians of small, intimate worlds, worlds that have slipped into shadow as time stretches on. We are drawn deeper into this quiet city, each step a gentle journey through the sacred and the ordinary. The path seems to wind not only through the streets of stone, but through the very heart of history itself, where the past and the present brush against each other like the softest of winds. Here, in this space between the remembered and the forgotten, there is mystery. The oil lamps, their flames trembling in the silence, guide us further, yet we do not seek answers. What we find instead are the traces left behind, grooves in the stone where hands once rested, soot on ceilings where smoke swirled and vanished long ago. These are the remnants of lives that passed, unnoticed by the world, but not unnoticed by the stones themselves. There is a quiet tenderness in this, a gentleness that wraps the city in a soft embrace. For here, beneath the weight of conquest and empire, we find fragility. This is a city known for its power, its reach, its ambition, and yet in the stillness of night we see another side, a side that speaks not of war or conquest, but of the quiet hours that come after, when the world rests. The streets, though once filled with the clamor of life, now stand as corridors between worlds, between the living and the remembered. between the here and the gone. In these corridors, there is no rush. There is only time. Time that moves like the soft flicker of a flame, hesitant yet steady, eternal yet fleeting. In this space, we are invited to pause, to reflect, to wonder about those whose lives once filled these streets. Perhaps they too asked the same questions we ask now. Who walks this road when the city sleeps? What remains when the day has passed? And in the quietness of the night, the street seems to answer, not in words, but in presence. The silence here does not erase. No, the silence protects. It shields the memories, cradles them in a space where they can sleep undisturbed until dawn. The lanterns along the way begin to fade one by one, their light dimming into the darkened air. They are the last breath of the day, the final glow before the night claims all. But even as the lanterns flicker out, the road remains, the stones remain, the memories remain. In the stillness they wait. Perhaps it is not for us to know the stories they hold. Perhaps they are meant to be left undisturbed, to rest until the next breath, the next movement of time. As the last lantern dies, the road is bathed in darkness, but it is not an erasure. No, the darkness is not an end, but a protection, a veil drawn carefully across the past, keeping the dreams of those who came before us safe until the morning light. And so we leave this place, not with answers, but with a quiet understanding. The city sleeps, but the road, the sleeping way, remains, its stones holding the whispers of a time that has long since passed. And though the flame of the lantern flickers out, its light is never truly gone. It is carried in the stillness of the night, woven into the breath of the city, and held by the shadows that fall across the stones. Perhaps some things are meant to rest, to fade softly into the dark, to be carried only in the quiet places, the forgotten places. Perhaps in this silence we can learn to listen for the soft echoes of lives once lived, for the stories that remain buried in the stone, waiting for those who are ready to hear them. And so, as the city falls silent once more, we are left with the question, what remains when the night claims everything? Some answers, perhaps, are never meant to be found. Yet, in the fading light, in the depth of the silence, there is something sacred, something eternal, something that lingers, just out of reach, but always present. And beneath the stars, the lanterns rest, the sleeping way endures, and in the darkness, the road keeps its secrets. In the stillness of the night, beneath the vast, unbroken sky, there is a pool, a quiet mirror, untouched by time. The water lies still, its surface a perfect reflection of the moon, soft and shimmering, holding its secret like an ancient breath. Above, the stars linger, distant and eternal, while the moon gazes down, casting its pale light over the darkened courtyard. The air is cool, filled with the quiet hum of the world at rest. In this sacred space, the water waits. It is a simple courtyard, tucked away within the heart of the Roman world, not for the public, not for the grand processions or bustling crowds, but for something more intimate, more sacred. It is an inward space, a place of quiet contemplation. The stones that line the path are worn smooth by the years, each one a silent witness to lives lived in the shadow of its stillness. And here, at the heart of this space, the water remains, waiting, watching, reflecting. The pool lies deep in the courtyard, like a forgotten memory, cradled by stone. Its surface is a perfect glass, unbroken, as if to guard the secrets held within. The stillness of the water invites something deeper than sight. It draws you in, as though it holds something just beneath the surface, something waiting to be seen, something waiting to be understood. In the quiet darkness, the water seems to breathe, its presence a soft, steady pulse in the heart of the courtyard. As the night stretches on, the courtyard reveals its layers. Beneath the pale glow of the moon, the pale basins, once filled by rain, stand as silent sentinels. Their edges worn smooth from the years, the basins tell stories of rain caught in their embrace, of blessings murmured from the lips of those who once stood beside them. They are empty now, their water long spilled, yet they carry the weight of memory in their stone. Each basin holds a moment frozen in time, a reflection of a life once lived. The still water that rests within them carries the imprints of faces long forgotten, the echoes of prayers whispered into the night. And then there are the fountains. Once they murmured blessings, soft and constant, like the breath of the city itself. The gentle sound of water falling upon stone was a constant companion in the courtyard, a reminder of life's flow, its cycles of giving and receiving. But now the fountains are still, their waters long since drained, their stones cold and silent, yet their presence remains, like a whisper in the air. The courtyard, once filled with the soft murmur of fountains, is now heavy with silence, as though the space itself holds its breath, waiting for something unknown. As you stand by the water's edge, your gaze drawn into the depths of the pool, the stars above seem to double. Reflections of the heavens stretch across the surface, blurring the lines between the sky and the earth. The water becomes a mirror to the heavens, a place where the mortal and the divine meet. It is here, in the quiet reflection, that the water begins to speak, not in words, but in silence. For it is said that still water listens. It listens to the wishes of the heart, to the quiet hopes and dreams whispered into the night. It holds the reflections of those who leaned close, of those who sought something beyond the world around them. In the moonlight, the water carries the weight of these moments, these prayers, these memories. Myth and history weave together in the stillness of the courtyard. In the whispers of the night, the nymphs of the past stir. Household spirits, guardians of hearth and home, once walked this path, leaving their marks upon the stones. They too, like the water, listened. It is said that in the quietest moments, when the world holds its breath, the spirits of the past still linger here, drawn by the water's invitation. The belief that still water listens is not merely a superstition, but a truth held by those who lived here. The courtyard, with its water, was a sacred space, a threshold between worlds, where the living and the remembered could touch. As we move deeper into the silence of the courtyard, a sense of reverence fills the air. There is no hurry, no urgency. The courtyard is a place of pause, a space where time flows differently. The boundaries between the sacred and the mundane blur, as if time itself has been folded gently within the stone. The water, calm and patient, holds the weight of all that has passed through this space, and yet it reveals nothing. There is a mystery in the stillness, a mystery that is not meant to be solved, but simply felt. The water has seen much, yet it chooses not to speak. It holds its secrets close, sharing only what is necessary, a glimpse of reflection, a momentary vision. The courtyard is neither private nor public. It is a threshold, a place where lives pause mid-breath, caught between what is seen and what is hidden. It is a space of quiet reverence where the past lingers like a breath held just before it is released. There is a tenderness here, a gentleness, as though the courtyard holds a sacred trust. It does not demand answers, nor does it seek them. It simply is, and in its quiet stillness it invites you to be too. The night grows deeper, the moon higher, and still the water waits. It holds its breath, untouched by the passing hours. The courtyard remains, unbroken, a place of refuge for memory and for the sacred. There is no hurry, there is no rush. The water waits, patient, sacred, eternal. Its reflections dissolve with the first hint of morning, like a dream that fades as the world stirs awake. Yet the pool remains, the courtyard remains, the water waits, as it always has, carrying the weight of the night in its depths, holding the reflections of the past until the moment they are needed again. Perhaps it was never meant to be understood. Perhaps the water, like the night itself, is a mystery meant to be experienced, not unraveled. Some things are not meant to be spoken aloud. Some things are not meant to be known. Yet in the quiet stillness of the courtyard, in the reflection of the moon upon the water, we are reminded of something deeper, something sacred. The water listens even when we do not. It remembers even when we forget. And in the silence, in the waiting, there is peace. And so, as the moon begins to wane, and the first light of morning begins to touch the stones, the water remains, untouched, still, and eternal. The courtyard, with its quiet waiting, stands as a testament to the sacredness of pause, of silence, and of memory. Perhaps, in the end, the water will reveal its secrets when we are ready, but for now it waits, and in its waiting it carries the stories of the past, the prayers of those who have come before, and the promise that some things, though unspoken, are always heard. The water waits, and we too must wait, for in the stillness we are all carried on the same breath, the breath of memory, of silence, of time itself. The incense lingers in the air, its scent now fading into the shadows of a quiet room. The candles have burned down, their flickers now silenced. The heavy doors of the temple close, sealing in the silence. It is a moment after devotion ends, the stillness left behind like a breath held in time. Where do prayers go when no one is listening? Where do the offerings of the soul find their resting place once the voices have quieted and the lights have dimmed? The question echoes softly within the stone walls, carried only by the softest of winds. The Roman temple rests now, cradled in its own silence, surrounded by shadows rather than songs. The gods who once stood proud, statuesque and eternal, are now mere silhouettes against the dark. The once sacred space, full of life and devotion, is now veiled, tucked away beneath the weight of the night. What remains of belief in such a place when the candles are snuffed and the incense is but a memory? We are drawn into the quiet recesses of this ancient temple, walking slowly among the crumbling columns and forgotten altars. The air is still, as though holding its breath, caught between the past and the present. The stone is cold beneath our feet, the warmth of prayer long since dissipated. The altar remains, its surface still warm with the heat of intentions once offered, though the warmth now fades, sinking deep into the cracks of stone. Above, the gods, carved in permanence, stand still, their stone faces frozen in time, their eyes empty yet eternal. They are not absent, no, they remain, silent witnesses to the prayers once whispered, now lost to the echo of the chamber. And yet, beneath the stillness there is a hum, a soft, almost imperceptible vibration, as if the very stones themselves are alive, holding the memory of something once vibrant, once full of faith. Offerings, once given with great reverence, now lie scattered on the cold stone, fragments of flowers, burned remnants of incense, coins long since forgotten. The temple, once alive with devotion, now holds only the slow surrender of these offerings to dust. They dissolve quietly, as if the very act of giving is itself a silent release, a letting go. There is a spiritual contradiction here, one that hums softly beneath the surface. Gods carved in permanence, worship fleeting as breath. The ritual, the prayers, the songs, the offerings, was once constant, a rhythm in the heart of the city, and yet it is as fragile as the wind, vanishing as quickly as it arrives. The gods stand in their eternal stone forms, unmoved by time, untouched by the rhythms of devotion. And yet the worship is gone, the prayers unanswered, the song of faith silenced. How strange this stillness is, the gods, the very symbols of power and eternity, surrounded now by silence. We pass through the temple's corridors, our footsteps soft on the stone floor, as if the very act of walking through this place should be done with reverence. The air is heavy with memory, with faith now faded. We enter the inner chambers, where shadows fall across the walls, and the only sound is the soft whisper of the breeze passing through cracks in the ancient stone. This is a chamber of echoes, but not the kind that are loud or demanding. No, these echoes are quiet, barely a murmur, as if the temple itself is dreaming. Perhaps the faith that once filled this space is now only a memory, held in the very stones, the dust, the shadows. As we stand in the stillness, the mystery begins to emerge not from spectacle, but from absence. What remains sacred when ritual sleeps? The altar, the statues, the walls, all bear the marks of devotion, yet they are no longer filled with the sounds of prayer. The gods, it seems, are absent, though not in the way one might imagine. Perhaps they do not sleep. Perhaps they simply rest, waiting for the next breath of faith to stir them. Or perhaps they too are caught in the silence, dreaming alongside the city that once sang their praises. The temple's silence becomes a form of devotion in itself, the absence of ritual, the absence of words, the stillness between breaths. There is reverence in the quiet, in the way the shadows fall across the stone, in the way the dust settles gently in the air. It is as though the very absence of worship has become an offering, a sacred space where belief can rest until it is needed again. The chamber, once filled with the hum of devotion, is now full of the quiet hum of memory, of something waiting to be called back into being. The night deepens around us as we stand in the shadow of the temple, the air thick with the weight of unanswered prayers, of faith deferred. What, we wonder, is left when devotion fades into silence? The gods remain in their stone forms, their faces unchanged, their hands outstretched, though no one is there to grasp them. The silence, it seems, is both an answer and a question. The temple stands as a testament to something larger than itself, a space carved out of time where faith once poured like a river, now still like the surface of the pool. As we move through the temple, the shadows stretch long and the stone seems to breathe with the night. Perhaps, in the end, the gods do not sleep. Perhaps they wait, as they always have, tucked into the folds of the earth, held in the shadow of the city, until the next prayer stirs the air. Perhaps, like the city itself, they dream in the silence, waiting for the morning light to call them back into the waking world. Or perhaps the gods, too, have learned the art of rest, just as the city rests now, in the quiet pause between the breath of time. In the final reflection, we leave the temple as we found it, quiet, still, and untouched. The gods do not speak, but they do not need to. They stand, eternal and silent in the dark, their faces veiled in shadow, holding the memory of all that has passed. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps it is not the silence that matters, but the waiting that is as sacred as any prayer, as holy as any song. And as we step away, the temple fades into the night, its silhouette marked only by the moon and the stars. And somewhere, in the shadows of the stone, the gods sleep or dream, waiting for the dawn. Beneath the pale glow of the moon, there stands an arch, timeless and silent. The stone is worn, its once proud inscriptions softened by the weight of centuries. Names, once carved with certainty, now blur and fade, as if the very passage of time has swallowed their meaning. The arch holds them all, these forgotten names, the echoes of those who walked here, whose triumphs and losses once filled the air. Now they rest in the stone, gently erased by the quiet embrace of time. We stand beneath this arch, where the moonlight stretches across the weathered stones. In the stillness, the arch seems to whisper, not with words, but with the softest sigh of memory. The names that were once etched into the stone now feel like ghosts, their presence felt more in the spaces between the cracks than in any visible form. The very act of remembering becomes an exercise in fading, as if the arch itself holds not just the names of those long gone, but the absence of their memory as well. The arch was once built to commemorate, to honor, to hold the weight of victory and legacy. But now it is a monument to something else entirely, a vessel of silence, a place where memory slips through the cracks like water, finding no purchase in the stone. What were once grand proclamations of triumph now seem almost inconsequential, as if the weight of time has softened them into dust. The victories celebrated here fade, leaving behind only the shape of the arch, standing tall but empty. There is a quiet, sacred melancholy in this contradiction, a monument built to defy forgetting, becoming a vessel for it. The stone remains, unmoved, while the stories it was meant to carry vanish into the wind. It is said that arches are gates, thresholds between moments, between lives, between eras. This arch, too, is a gate, though it stands open to silence. Beyond it lies only the vast, still sky, and the stars that stretch across it like ancient echoes of what once was. The sky above seems infinite, stretching on forever, a canvas upon which the names that once adorned this stone have dissolved into the dust of time. Beneath this arch, we are caught between what is remembered and what is lost, between the weight of history and the mercy of forgetting. As the night deepens, the mystery of the arch unfolds. The names, once bold and clear, now blur into shadows, lost in the embrace of the stone. And yet the arch stands. It holds its silence like a prayer, offering no answers but only space. Space for reflection, space for the stories that have faded, and space for those that were never told. In this sacred emptiness, we begin to sense the true weight of memory, not in the triumphs that were once recorded, but in the quiet loss of those stories that were never carved at all. There is a tenderness in this space, a quiet reverence for what has been forgotten, for what has slipped through the cracks of time. The arch no longer holds the weight of names, but the weight of what lies beneath them, the stories that have passed into shadow, the lives that have left no mark upon the stone. What of them? The ones whose voices were never recorded, whose deeds went unnoticed by history? In the absence of names, there is a soft whisper, a breath that carries with it the weight of countless untold stories, of lives that never reached the stone. The arch becomes a frame, a doorway, holding the night sky like a canvas. The stars, far and bright, now fill the space where names once stood. They shine with a quiet intensity, untouched by time, their light carrying the echoes of those who came before. It is here, beneath the arch, that we begin to understand the fullness of silence, not just as the absence of sound, but as the absence of memory, the absence of recognition. The stars are their own memory now, stretching across the sky, holding the stories of those who were forgotten, and perhaps those who never had a chance to be remembered. Emotionally, we are carried from awe into gentle sorrow. The arch, once a symbol of triumph, now feels like a sigh, soft, slow, almost imperceptible. There is beauty in this quiet sorrow, in the space between what is known and what is lost. The names that were once etched into the stone have faded, but the arch remains. It is patient, still, holding the memory of nothing, or perhaps everything. Perhaps the forgetting itself is the memory, woven into the fabric of time. Perhaps this is where memory rests, where it is allowed to dissolve into the wind, to become part of the earth beneath our feet. As we pause beneath the arch, we feel the weight of its silence. It is not a silence of absence, but of presence, of memory that waits, suspended between the stars and the earth. The arch does not demand to be remembered. It does not call attention to the names that once adorned it. It simply is, standing in the dark, holding space for the forgotten, the unspoken, the unseen. In this silence there is mercy. The stone does not grieve, nor does it cry out for remembrance. It simply stands, allowing forgetting to feel almost sacred, almost merciful. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the stories of those who passed beneath this arch were never meant to be written down, never meant to endure. Perhaps they were meant to be fleeting, like the light of the stars, bright for a moment and then gone. The arch, then, is not a tomb for memory, but a sanctuary for forgetting. In its silence, it offers us peace, a soft, quiet surrender to the passage of time. As we stand beneath the arch, the night stretches on, its stillness wrapping itself around us like a blanket. The moon moves higher in the sky, casting its gentle light across the stone. And for a moment, we too become part of this story, part of the silence that fills the space between memory and forgetting. We listen, not for answers, but for the quiet hum of the stars, the echo of what has passed and what remains. And in this pause, we find peace. The arch stands, patient and quiet, holding space for all that has come before and all that will come after. It does not demand remembrance, it simply is. And in its stillness, it invites us to rest with it, beneath the arch of forgotten names, where memory fades and silence reigns. Under the soft silver of the moon, a gentle breeze stirs the leaves. They rustle like the whisper of old secrets, a murmur shared only with the night. In this stillness there lies a Roman garden, sheltered and untouched by the hurry of the world beyond its walls. The air is rich with the scent of herbs and flowers, faint but distinct, carried by the breeze that weaves its way through the branches and along the stone pathways. The garden is asleep, cradled in its own quiet embrace, kept safe within the high walls that rise like ancient sentinels, watching over this cultivated nature. Beyond the walls, the world moves on, but here, time grows slowly, like the soft unfolding of a leaf beneath the moon's gaze. This garden, once tended by hands long gone, speaks of a world built not on conquest, but on quiet partnership with nature. It is a place of order, yet alive with something deeper, something ancient. The paths are lined with stone, winding gently through rows of plants, each one carefully chosen and placed. And yet, despite the care and intention with which they were planted, the garden has taken on a life of its own. Nature, though once guided by human hands, has found its own rhythm here, its own pulse. It is as if time itself has learned to grow slowly here within these walls, unhurried by the world outside. The focus shifts now, tracing the quiet pathways of this garden. We walk softly along the edges of the plants, the faint fragrance of thyme and rosemary in the air, the cool earth beneath our feet. The leaves above us are still, though they seem to hum with some ancient knowledge, their edges soft in the moonlight. Herbs, once used for healing, now linger here, their medicinal roots long forgotten, but still growing strong, their leaves a quiet testament to a time when their purpose was sacred. Each plant, each tree carries the weight of generations, though many have passed unseen. In this place, it is not the grandeur of conquest or empire that is remembered, but the gentle cycles of growth, of life and death intertwined like the slow turning of seasons. There is a profound spirituality to this garden, but it is not one born of grand gestures or mighty temples. No, here spiritual meaning grows as patiently as the flowers, rooted deeply in the soil, in the cycles of the earth, in the quiet passage of time.
The garden was designed, yes, a space carved from the land, but it was always meant to be more than a mere decoration, more than an ornament for the eyes. The carefully planted trees, the herbs, the flowers, each one was a part of something larger, something spiritual. And yet, as time has passed, the very act of tending to this garden, of shaping it into something of order, has softened into something gentler, something more natural. The hands that once shaped it are gone, but the growth continues, silent and patient, filling the spaces between stone with the soft pulse of life. As we wander deeper into this space, the moonlight filters through the trees, casting dappled shadows upon the ground. We pass under archways of ivy, winding through their tendrils as though we are passing through time itself. The walls of the garden are hidden behind curtains of green, but beyond them we can feel the weight of the world, a world that is in constant motion, while here everything moves at its own pace. There is no hurry here, no rush. The garden grows slowly, as if the very earth beneath it has learned to take its time, to let the moments pass without grasping at them. The world outside moves, but here, within these walls, the breath of time feels as if it is stretching itself out, savoring every second. It is said that in gardens like this, the souls of those who cared for them linger long after their bodies have turned to dust. Perhaps it is the soil, rich with history and care, or perhaps it is the stones that bear the weight of their footsteps. There is something sacred about this place, not in the sense of a temple where offerings are made and prayers are spoken aloud, but in the way that silence itself becomes an offering. The gardeners, long gone from this place, are remembered not by monuments or statues, but by the very plants they left behind. The growth that continues without witness, the quiet unfolding of leaves and petals, this is their legacy. This garden, though untouched by human hands, still carries their presence. It is as if their care has been absorbed by the earth, like water sinking into soil, nurturing the life that continues to grow. And still, there is mystery in this place. We find ourselves moving deeper into its embrace, feeling as though we are stepping into a world that is both eternal and fleeting. The garden holds 1,000 stories, but it speaks only in whispers. The trees bend low, heavy with fruit and memory, their branches stretching out as if reaching for something just beyond reach. The paths we follow are lined with stones, their edges softened by moss and time, guiding us through this hidden world. The garden does not need to explain itself to us. It does not need our understanding. It simply is. It grows. It breathes. It waits. Perhaps it is this waiting that gives the garden its power. It is not a place of frantic energy, but of slow, deliberate movement. The leaves stir in the moonlight, the flowers open and close with the rhythm of the night, and the garden grows slowly as time stretches itself out, letting each moment pass like the whisper of a breeze. There is no hurry here, no urgency to see it all or to know its secrets. The garden holds time in green silence, and in that silence there is peace. The final reflection rests among the leaves and the starlight, where the cool earth cradles the roots of trees that have stood for lifetimes. The garden asks for nothing. It needs no recognition, no praise. It grows, simply because that is what it has always done. And in its growth it holds time, not in the way we measure it, but in the way it unfolds naturally, gently, as if each moment is a gift given and received in equal measure. Perhaps this garden was never meant to be understood. Perhaps it exists to remind us that some things do not need to be rushed. Some moments are meant to grow slowly, like the breath of the earth, in quiet patience. And so, as the moon moves higher in the sky and the stars flicker softly above, we stand in the garden's embrace, listening to the quiet hum of life, knowing that here time will always grow slowly, like the leaves that stir in the moonlit air. The garden grows, and in its silence we are free.
In the stillness of the night, the theater lies beneath a veil of silence. The seats are empty, carved from the darkness like forgotten memories. Stone, cold and unmoving, waits in its eternal stillness. The theater, once alive with the voices of countless actors, now holds only the weight of absence. The stage, once alive with the rhythm of performance, is quiet. There is no applause, no laughter, no cheers. The sound has faded, swallowed by time. The theater, though still standing, has become a place not of spectacle, but of memory, a space where the echoes of the past linger in the shadows, waiting for an audience that may never return. The air is thick with the absence of those who once filled these seats. It is said that a place like this, built to hold emotion, to carry the voices of performers and the hearts of an audience, never truly empties. Even when the last curtain has fallen and the final note has been sung, something remains. Perhaps it is not the applause that lingers, but the very essence of what it means to perform, to give voice to stories that live between the actors and their audience. These voices never fully leave the stone, the wood, the fabric of the stage. They settle into the walls, into the seats, into the very air, leaving behind an imprint that time cannot erase. As we move through the theater, the layers of memory unfold. There is a softness in the air, a quiet hum that speaks of laughter long dissolved into the night, of voices of characters who once brought stories to life in vibrant color. The masks that were once worn, the costumes draped in golden light, are now set aside, gathering dust in the forgotten corners of the stage. The walls still bear the traces of the voices that once rang out, their echoes lingering like ghosts in the spaces between the columns. The theater, though empty, is not silent. It holds these echoes, carrying them like a secret, a memory too precious to be forgotten. In this space, there is a sacred tension. It is the tension between public emotion and private silence. The theater was built to hold the collective spirit of those who gathered to witness the spectacle. It was made for the roar of applause, the rise and fall of voices, the rush of energy that flowed through the air. And yet, in its stillness, we find that this energy does not disappear. It transforms. The applause that once filled the air now lingers like the softest breath, lingering in the corners of the stage, in the empty seats, in the walls that stood witness to countless performances. This silence is not an absence, it is a presence. The theater listens, content with its own memory, as it always has. Myth whispers that in places such as these, voices never truly leave. They become part of the stone, part of the fabric of the stage. Perhaps the gods themselves linger here,
the spirits of those who performed and those who watched. Perhaps, in the stillness, the theater holds not just memories of the past, but the promise that when the next performance comes, the voices will be ready once more. The moon, drifting high above, casts its soft light across the stage, bathing the empty theater in a cool silver glow. The stone seems to breathe with the light, as if remembering the countless performances that once unfolded beneath the stars. The stage is ready to welcome the next story, though it knows that only silence will fill the air for now. Emotion drifts gently through this space, moving from curiosity into a kind of wistful reverence. We sense the joy that once filled the theater, the laughter that echoed through these walls, and the applause that resonated like a pulse in the heart of the city. But we also sense the quiet that has followed, the stillness that has crept in like a soft, uninvited guest. The joy has transformed, become a quiet echo that lingers in the shadows. The applause has turned to silence, but not absence. The stone remembers, the walls remember, and in the stillness there is peace. As we stand there, beneath the moon's soft gaze, we wonder, does the theater remember the stories it once held? Does the stone hold the ghosts of performances past? Perhaps it is not for us to know. Perhaps it is enough to simply be in the presence of the silence, to feel the weight of the memories that linger here. The theater does not demand recognition, nor does it seek to fill the space with sound. It simply exists, holding the stories of the past in its stone heart, waiting for the moment when those stories will once again be told. And so, as the moon continues its journey across the sky, the theater listens. It does not need applause. It does not need the roar of the crowd. It is content with its memories, content with the soft echoes that fill the space. There is no need for answers, no need for conclusion. The mystery remains. Perhaps it was never meant to be solved. Perhaps the beauty of this place lies not in the voices it held, but in the silence it now cradles. Some stories are meant to be whispered, not shouted. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. As the final breath of the night fills the air, the theater stands beneath the moon, quiet, still, and full of memory. There is no need for applause here. The theater has already heard it all, and in its silence it holds the weight of everything that has passed. The stage is set, ready for the next act, the next story, the next voice that will fill the air. But for now, all is quiet. The theater listens, content in its own memory. Perhaps, in the end, the theater is not waiting for an audience. Perhaps it is waiting for silence to speak. The hearth rests quietly in the heart of the Roman home. Beneath a thin layer of ash, embers still smolder, their warmth lingering like a memory held close. The room is bathed in the soft glow of the last light of day, but the true warmth comes not from the fading sun. No, it is the hearth itself, the silent keeper of so many lives, lives unseen by history's grand gaze, yet no less important, no less full of stories. The fire has long since burned down to quiet embers, but in its soft warmth, the space holds something eternal. Here, in this simple room, we find the pulse of life, steady, gentle, and real. This is not the space of emperors or generals, not the echo of triumphs or the weight of conquest. No,
This is where the ordinary beats its quiet rhythm, where meals are shared and prayers are whispered. Here, beneath the quiet roof of stone and timber, life unfolds in its humblest form. There are no loud proclamations, no grand statues to mark the passing of time. There is only the soft, steady pulse of a family's breath, a fire lit, a meal prepared, a hand held in silence. As we move deeper into the home, we sense the sacred intimacy of these spaces. The flickering light from the hearth casts shadows on the walls, and we can almost hear the rustle of movement, the soft murmur of voices, though no one is here to speak them now. In the corners of the room, the small trinkets of daily life remain: a simple cup, a woolen blanket folded neatly in the corner. The air carries the faint smell of bread and herbs, the remnants of a meal shared long ago. The hearth, where fire once roared and crackled, now rests quietly under a layer of ash. Yet even in this stillness, there is life, a life carried in the whispers of the past, in the warmth that lingers long after the flames have faded. The gods of this home are not carved in marble or etched into stone. They are invited in through small sacred acts: a prayer before sleep, a blessing whispered over food, a quiet moment shared in the soft glow of the hearth. These gods are not distant or untouchable. They are present in the small, intimate acts of life. Perhaps they are invoked to guard sleep, to protect the peace of the home, to bring warmth to cold nights. And yet, they too, like the hearth, are quiet. Their presence is felt in the spaces between words, in the stillness of the room, in the warmth of a home that welcomes them without fanfare or display.
In this place, the mystery hums softly, almost imperceptibly. There is a quiet contradiction here, how the smallest spaces can hold the deepest warmth, how the most ordinary moments can be the most sacred. We pass through rooms that carry the weight of countless lives lived in them, rooms where children slept, where elders sat by the fire, where love and grief were quietly shared. These moments, though fleeting, have left their mark, not in records or monuments, but in the walls, in the hearth, in the way the air seems to pulse with memory. We move from room to room, drawn deeper into the story of a life that was never written in grand histories, never etched into the annals of time. But here, in these simple spaces, we can feel the presence of those who lived and loved here. We sense their movements, their quiet routines, the softness of their daily lives. There are no faces to remember, no names to speak aloud, but the presence of these lives lingers, not in the stone of buildings, not in the fame of victories, but in the warmth of a hearth. In the stillness of the home, the stories of love, of sorrow, of simple joy are woven into the very fabric of the space. The hearth becomes a quiet metaphor for the home itself, a place where warmth is born, where life unfolds slowly, where the fire burns long after the flames have faded. Even as the fire dims, the warmth remains, like the memories of those who once lived here. The hearth, though silent, holds its own quiet song. The glow of the embers, now softened by time, flickers softly in the quiet dark. The warmth spreads, unseen, but felt in the quiet comfort of the space. Emotion settles here, not with the loud declaration of triumph, but with the quiet tenderness of what has passed. We sense the presence of lives lived in the soft glow of the hearth, and we know that even without grand monuments or public recognition, these lives matter. The hearth, in its quiet warmth, holds everything that once was: the laughter, the tears, the prayers, the whispers of love. These things may fade from the pages of history, but they do not fade from the hearth. They remain, like the soft heat still rising from the ashes. And as we stand there, in the quiet presence of the hearth, the fire slowly dying, but its warmth still lingering, we are left with a question. What of the stories that were never recorded? What of the loves, the losses, the small triumphs that never made it into the history books? Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps they were never meant to be written down. But as the embers flicker and the room grows still, we realize that it doesn't matter. The warmth remains. The memory lives on in the quiet places, in the spaces where the fire once burned, and in the hearts of those who carried it. The hearth listens, its warmth now a soft glow in the dark. There is no need for words, no need for applause. The warmth remains, and it is enough. Perhaps some things are meant to remain beneath the surface, only felt in the quietest moments. Perhaps some stories are meant to glow softly in the dark, in the places where time moves slowly, where love is felt in the warmth of a fire rather than the sound of a crowd. The hearth has no need for recognition. It glows in the dark, holding the warmth of lives once lived, quietly, simply, and forever. And so, as the moon rises higher in the sky, casting its pale light through the window, we leave the hearth, its glow still warm, still holding the presence of all that has passed. The fire has faded, but the warmth remains, like a whisper in the night. The hearth, like the home itself, is content to be. The memory it holds, though unseen, will never fade. Where does warmth go when water sleeps? The question rises quietly in the cooled air, drifting like the last wisp of steam from a once vibrant bathhouse. Beneath the gentle glow of moonlight, the tiles, now cold to the touch, carry the echoes of what was once. The walls, once alive with the hum of voices, now stand empty, their surfaces quiet, their stillness absolute. No longer do the sounds of laughter, conversation, or ritual fill the chambers. No longer does the warmth of steam spiral through the air, drawing people together in the sacred intimacy of water. The bathhouse, once a place of both body and spirit, has settled into silence, leaving behind only traces of its former self. The air is cool now, as if holding its breath, waiting for something that will never come. The bathhouse rests beneath the stars, the moon casting a soft light upon its weathered walls. The stone is smooth beneath your feet, though it has long since lost the warmth of the bodies that once moved across it. The water, which once rose to the surface with steam, now rests in still pools, their surfaces unbroken, like mirrors reflecting only the stars. The space is vast, though empty, and you wonder where the warmth has gone, where the spirits of the bathhouse have disappeared. We move deeper into the chambers, each one filled with its own sense of ancient quiet.
Once these rooms were filled with sound, the echo of water splashing, the murmur of voices, the soft whisper of steam. Now the silence seems to fill the space, pressing in from all sides. The tiles, once glowing with the heat of water, are now cool, their surfaces reflecting the faint light of the moon. The steam, which once swirled around, carrying away both sweat and burden, is now gone, leaving only the memory of its presence behind. The stones still hold the warmth of rituals long past, yet the air has settled, as though waiting for something to awaken it once more. The contradictions of the bathhouse linger, the communal intimacy, the shared presence of bodies, now replaced by absence. It is as though the bathhouse, though empty, has become a vessel for memory itself, a place where past lives linger like echoes, fading but never truly gone.
There is something sacred about this silence, a reverence in the stillness that fills the air. The water, once a presence of life, now seems almost mythic, its absence more profound than its presence ever was. It is said that water holds memory, that the steam carries stories of those who entered its embrace. But now, even the steam is gone, evaporated, leaving only the spaces where it once lived. The bathhouse, once a site of purification, of cleansing both body and spirit, now seems purified by silence. The very air has been emptied of its ritual. And yet, in the stillness, there is something gentle, something almost sacred. The space feels complete, not despite its emptiness, but because of it. We pass through the chambers, moving with slow steps, the silence wrapping around us like a blanket. There is no rush here, no need to fill the space with sound. The stillness is complete, and we sense that the bathhouse does not need us to understand it. It is content, as it has always been, to hold its memories. The steam that once rose, curling into the air, now rises in our minds, unseen but felt. It is as though the water and the stone have conspired to keep their stories, waiting for the right moment to reveal them. But for now, they remain sealed, kept within the coolness of the stone, beneath the silence of the night. The final room is where the pools lie. Their surfaces are smooth, untouched, reflecting the dim light of the moon. The water in them is still, as though time itself has ceased to flow here. The chambers, like the water, have settled into their own peaceful stillness. There is no movement now, no flow of conversation, no rushing of feet, no steam rising from the surface of the pools. The doorways stand closed, the entryways dark, as though the bathhouse is resting, waiting for a time when it will be called upon once again. But for now, it sleeps, purified by the quiet that has washed over it. As the moon drifts higher in the sky, casting its light over the stone, the bathhouse remains beneath the stars. The spaces once filled with life are now empty, yet the silence is not sad. It is peaceful, as if the bathhouse has done its work and now waits for time to pass, for the cycle to begin again. The warmth may be gone, the steam dissipated, but the memory of it lingers, like a soft breath carried on the wind. The bathhouse, in its stillness, holds a quiet reverence for what was and what will be again. Perhaps the warmth was never meant to stay. Perhaps it was meant to disappear into the air, to leave behind only its memory.
Perhaps the bathhouse was never about the presence of steam or the noise of voices, but about the sacred act of letting go, of returning to silence. And so the stone remains, the still water remains, the quiet remains. The bathhouse rests, purified by silence, and the air around it is filled with the breath of time. It is enough. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps it was always meant to fade, to become a memory, a place of quiet reflection, waiting for the next soul to walk through its doors. In this sacred silence, the bathhouse listens, its story told in the coolness of the stone and the stillness of the water.
The night is almost gone, the darkness loosening its quiet grip as the first whispers of morning begin to stir. There is a stillness in the air, thick and expectant, as though the very world is holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable shift. Beneath the veil of stars, the city sleeps, poised on the edge of waking, suspended between two worlds. The great expanse of the Roman city lies quietly beneath the moon's pale gaze, its towering ruins softened by the shadow of the night. Every building, every column, every street seems to hold its own secret, its own breath, held deep within its stone bones. There is something sacred about this moment, this quiet pause where time itself seems to have stilled. And in this space between rest and waking, the city holds itself in balance. The pulse of life, once loud and vibrant, now lies dormant, like the quiet before the first notes of a sacred chant. The streets, once filled with movement, now lie empty, save for the soft murmur of the wind brushing against the stone. The air smells faintly of damp earth, and the lingering scent of ancient incense swirls through the narrow alleys. Every space, every square, every temple, every forgotten corner seems to breathe together, as though the city itself is alive with the quiet rhythm of sleep. It is a pause in time, a moment of peace before the first light breaks over the horizon. The night has been long, its shadows stretching over the city like a veil. But now, just before dawn, the silence is no longer heavy. The darkness has softened, allowing space for the promise of light to seep through. And yet, even as the city stirs toward waking, it does not rush. It takes its time, as if aware of its own ancient rhythms, aware of the cycles that have guided it long before the first empire rose. There is a softness to this transition, an acceptance of what has passed and what is yet to come. The city does not fear the dawn. It does not fight against the inevitable. Instead, it waits. It waits with a patient grace, as though the turning of the world is as much a part of it as the air it breathes. In this space, where the world hovers between night and day, there is a blending of past and present. The walls that have borne witness to centuries of lives, of triumphs and tragedies, now rest in quiet contemplation. The statues that once gazed out over the bustling streets, their eyes forever fixed on the horizon, now appear softer in the dim light. The stones beneath our feet, though worn by the passage of time, still hum with the memory of those who walked before us. And though we are not of this time, we feel ourselves drawn into it, as though we too are part of the eternal rhythm of the city. The empire that once called these streets home may be gone, but the city remains, whole, silent, and waiting. There is a quiet beauty in this waiting, a sacredness in the stillness. The city is neither lost nor forgotten. It is merely resting, preparing for what is yet to come. The warmth of life, of movement, will return soon enough, but for now there is peace. The temples, once filled with prayers, now hold only the soft murmur of memories. The marketplaces, once full of voices, now stand empty, their stone surfaces smooth and untouched. The roads that once carried the footsteps of thousands now lie quiet, the dust of time settled over them like a blanket. Yet beneath this silence there is life, a life that does not disappear but waits. It waits beneath the surface, like the soft glow of an ember hidden in the ashes. And in this moment, just before the dawn breaks, we sense a connection to everything that has come before and everything that is yet to be. The city, though asleep, is not stagnant. It is alive with potential, with the quiet energy of a world waiting to awaken. The very air seems to hum with possibility, as though the breath of the earth is gathering strength, ready to begin again. There is no rush, no urgency. There is only the waiting, the gentle turning of the world as it waits for the first light to break through. The city, like the earth, knows its rhythm. It knows that nothing is truly lost. It only waits, as all things do, for their time to return. As the first rays of dawn touch the distant horizon, the city remains still. The light is soft, gentle, as though it too understands the sacredness of this moment. The stars above begin to fade, their light giving way to the soft blue of morning. The moon, once high in the sky, now lowers its gaze, leaving space for the warmth of the sun to fill the world. And in this quiet moment, just before the light breaks fully over the city, there is a sense of peace, a sense of completion, as if the night has done its work and the dawn will now take its turn.
Perhaps, like the city, we too are in a state of waiting. Perhaps our own stories, our triumphs, our losses, our quiet moments are simply waiting for the right time to be told. Some voices, it seems, only echo when we are ready to listen. Perhaps the stories of the city are not meant to be understood all at once, but in their own time, when the light is soft and the air is still. And in this moment, beneath the silence of the night, we sense that everything is connected. The city sleeps, yes, but it is not lost. It is only waiting for the dawn to call it back to life. The final reflection of the night hangs in the still air, a moment suspended between the past and the future. The city sleeps, its heart beating slowly beneath the weight of time. The dawn waits gently beyond the veil, and in this space, in this quiet moment, there is peace. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the beauty of this moment lies not in the searching, but in the waiting. The city, in its silence, holds everything it needs, and in the soft breath of the night, we are reminded that nothing is truly lost. It only waits. The city sleeps, whole and hushed, as dawn waits gently beyond the veil.
As we close our eyes and let the world of ancient Rome fade into the night, we leave behind the whispers of history, the soft glow of lanterns, and the gentle rustling of the city settling into slumber. Remember, the past always sleeps with us, in the quietest moments, in the peaceful nights. So, until we meet again, let these tales of history guide your dreams. Thank you for joining me tonight at Twilight Tale. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can rest with us again soon. Good night and sweet dreams.